Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, October 4th. Skipped yesterday. Just, hung out at home feeling cruddy all day yesterday, but feeling better today. So it's fine. Yeah, let's just get on to movie day. Today's movie day, I'm going to again go into more Marvel. Now, okay, so I keep doing Marvel because I'm in the middle of it and I want to keep watching it. I do want to point out, I have not forgotten that before I hopped into Harry Potter that I did put James Bond on hold. I remember that. I know I need to get back to it. But right now I'm on a Marvel kick, so I'm going to hop back into Marvel for today. But I have been thinking, at some point I got to get back into James Bond. I got through Pierce Brosnan, and I'm getting to Daniel Craig, who I've given the least chance of. I've seen 2 of his movies. One of them was actually very good, Skyfall. The other one was the worst. No comprehension available. Quantum of Solace or whatever. I remember when I saw the trailers for his first one, Casino Royale, it just didn't look good, so I started out not giving him much of a chance. I know I need to get back to James Bond. But today, we're going to keep going through Marvel. So that's something I need to do later. Alright. So we did Iron Man 2 last time, which means Thor is next. Now, I know very little about Thor, other than the fact that my friends were kind of talking about stuff about... I actually don't know if they were talking about Thor or one of the Thor sequels. But they were talking Thor stuff. And the thing about Thor is that Thor is weird. So Thor, here you go, is like a Norse god character. So he's, of course, based in Norse mythology, but also I think he's an alien. I mean, I may be wrong. I'm just remembering things that I've kind of gathered from the Avengers movies, which is all I know of him. But I think he's also an alien. So so what makes up his society and the culture of things, I don't know. And also, does it take place on Asgard? Or does it take place in New Mexico? Because apparently this happens at the same time as the last 2 movies, Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2, the same week. And from the information that we got in Iron Man 2, we know that the hammer ends up in New Mexico at least. So, I mean, my best guess would be both. That both it takes place both on Asgard and New Mexico. So, I don't know. But it's one, I don't know if I will like. Just as far as, what I know about the characters in the world, I'm not saying I'm gonna like it. I don't know. It does not feel like one that drew to me. The Iron Man movies, even the ones I didn't see, they draw to me. And Hulk, I at least know that from childhood, so that's a thing. Can't wait for Captain America. Whenever I've seen him in the Avengers movie, I'm that's a good old boy. That's he's got, he's a good character. I like him. He is someone that I will connect with, and I will probably really like his movies. Thor is some sort of alien Norse god superhero whatever. I don't know. I just don't feel like the target audience for it. But maybe it feels very superhero-ish still, and I like it. Because that's the thing. Does it feel like it? I mean, because depending on the situation he's dealing with, does it feel like a superhero? If he's back home on Asgard, is everyone super powered like that? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm gonna watch Thor and find out, I guess. And I would give Thor a 7.3 out of 10. From Wikipedia. Thor, Crown Prince of Asgard, is banished to Earth and stripped of his powers after he reignites a dormant war. As his brother Loki plots to take the throne for himself, Thor must prove himself worthy and reclaim his hammer, Mjolnir. It tried to kind of be an origin story without really telling us much. Like, it was like, oh, we're an origin story. We're gonna bother. We started with the history of, like how basically, and they explain it again later, but it's, hey, these Viking folks, they see us and think, hey, that technology, that's magic. You must be gods. Got it. And so then there's that, and then there's like the ice giants, and they battle them, setting up that basic premise, concept for the world. And setting up, I think it's 7 or 9, like there are these number of worlds, realms, as it were, which I wonder, whenever we get into, I guess Guardians of the Galaxy is our next real explore space kind of plotline kind of thing, which I have no idea about. But I wonder if that sticks to the realms thing, as far as like what planets are worth exploring kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But that's what we got. We got that. And then it is Thor's introduction really to Earth, to trying to figure out what's going on at this Earth place as he falls for Jane. This woman who does not need to be having a license. And then so a lot of it takes place with him down in New Mexico, but our intro was up in Asgard, and politics there, and a little bit of jumping around, some fighting with ice giants, some banishment, and then the rest of it's just sort of cutting to Asgard to see what's going on over there. And so they try and have this idea of, you got this group of Asgardians who clearly all have different powers. Thor, he has magic hammer and lightning powers, as long as he's allowed to have it by his father, Odin. Odin is king, and so has like rulership powers and can whisper to items and enchant them with properties, I guess. Loki has the ability to appear in multiple places at once, to obfuscate himself so that he cannot be seen even by people with special powers of seeing. We'll see that. To move between places unknown, and then Silver Tongue, to lie. That he is good at being deceptive. At least we're told he is. We see him doing it poorly a number of times, but we also see him do it quite well. Mr. I guard the gate dude, over here on the side, has the power of operating the gate, which maybe it's actually the item that he has that has that power, and everyone can do it. I don't know. And like to see stuff at a very far distance, which like even when his gate's blown up, he still has that. Like he can see off into the distance, other than when Loki doesn't want him to. So he has that power. And then Thor has 4 friends who, when they like showed up, I'm like, oh man, these guys are getting killed to motivate things, because they never come back, right? They all seem to be alive at the end. I do not know why. Who are these folks? I don't know. They fight good, and one of them eats a lot. That's their powers. It's like enough to say all of these people have different and unique special abilities, that they could all be heroes in their own rights. But we're not really going to talk about it because reasons. Because we don't want to spend the time on it, so just accept it. And I'm like, but what can they do? Who are they? Do they have names? That was a weird sounding name. Can you repeat it a couple more times so I can remember it? No? Well, then I'm gonna forget it. Like, you gotta use some repetition in your weird names or they don't get remembered. So yeah, so they introduce all of these characters. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? They then have most of the movie focusing on, Thor first trying to get back his hammer, figure out what's going on and get back his hammer. And like he finally gets to it and he can't lift it because he is not Thor-y enough for Thor. And they have a cameo of Hawkeye. They don't explain that it's Hawkeye. I guess we're supposed to know because he uses a bow. But that will be relevant. I guess they're just trying to say, hey, Hawkeye's working with S.H.I.E.L.D. And we get a bit of Coulson, and then Loki comes in and lies to his brother, and his brother believes him. And then Thor kind of accepts it. All right, well, I'm banished here, and I killed my dad, so I guess it's, really for the best. I deserve it. And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy time with this pretty girl Jane. Until Laserface Monster, this one, is sent by Loki to come destroy him, and Thor's all honorable. And Loki decides to just have him kind of beat him up a bit. He doesn't have to melt him. Thor is fallen in love with the people of this world and has just accepted that he's staying here. Loki doesn't need to kill him. And I think somewhat Loki does still love his brother. He hates him, but he loves him. Tom Hiddleston played it. He's good. Loki's a good character, like a good, complex role. But because of the way Thor acted, Mjolnir the Hammer decides, hey, he's worthy, and Thor gets Thor power back. And they go back, fend off Loki, keeping him from blowing up one of the realms, and getting locked away from Earth where he can't go visit Jane anymore. Poor Thor. He pines for her. And we get into our credits. And we get our opening title. So, taking a step aside, there is a wonderful old TV show. It's called Monty Python's Flying Circus. It's great. One of the jokes, it's never, I don't believe, explicitly stated, but just something that you particularly notice if you sit down to watch the 16-ton mega set and just watch the episodes in order over the course of a couple months, as I once or twice did. And that is that the opening title, Monty Python's Flying Circus, which of course in the first season or two is at the beginning, and then they kind of they put like a skit before it, and so it's just a little further in. And then slowly kind of bouncing back and forth, it moves later and later into the episode until eventually they end one of the episodes with their opening title card, Monty Python's Flying Circus. And it's funny. So I, as someone who sits around and tries to, okay, so I gotta, whenever that opening title card comes up, I gotta rewind, capture it so I can use it as the graphic for saying what I'm watching, and I'm just like, they haven't said the name of the movie. And they don't do it until they've already started the end credits. Like, grr. Whatever. But it is a thing that I observe, is where they put that opening graphic, because I'm looking for it. There were a few good spots they could have put it. Anyways. Now, throughout this movie, I've been seeing this dude. Scientist guy. Hangs out with Jane. Kind of looking after her. Something about he knew her dad or something. I don't know. I'm like, I recognize him. He's in the Avengers, right? Right? He's in the Avengers. I think he must have played a significant role, but I'm not sure what. Anyways, in that last climactic battle where Thor is battling Loki, and finally they hang off of the broken bits of Rainbow Road, Odin pulling them up, and Loki drops off into space. No, he's dead or something, because he just floats forever. Well, where did he go? Did he go to Earth? Maybe. Maybe he stopped by somewhere first. Who knows? But as this guy is meeting with Nick Fury in some sort of labyrinthian shield basement to be shown the Tesseract, we see in the mirror Loki there. And Loki says a thing, and then the guy says a thing, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy that, I don't know if Loki is turned into, like he's maybe killed him off, and now he's like mimicking him, or if he's like mind controlling him. I don't really know. It's another Loki power, I guess. Loki has powers. We don't know what they are. They're a mystery. Because they don't tell us what people can do. It's just whatever's convenient, I guess, for the plot. They can do it. Anyways. So I was like, that's why he's important. Because he's how Loki's sneaking around or something in Avengers. Yeah. Because I've seen Avengers. It's been a long time. I don't think I've seen it since I saw it in theaters. So, it's been a very long time. But that's like 2 movies away. But at the end of this movie, like the end credits, they're all like, Thor will return in the Avengers. Which is kind of funny, because in this set, it's Avengers Assemble. Just a better name. It's a better name. Tells you a bit more. Yeah, better name. But yeah, so it's a bit of a confusing movie. I mean, it is somewhat of an origin story. There are some super heroic things, like when Thor battles this guy, it's heroic. When Thor beats up a bunch of soldiers doing their job, it's not heroic. When Thor and random group of war buddies are fighting off ice giants, it's just like fantasy action war movie. Not like superhero movie at all. It really wouldn't feel like a superhero movie at all if it weren't for the involvement of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, the involvement of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the fact that we already have conditioned in our mind how much that group means tying into this Avengers Initiative thing. If we didn't have that, it wouldn't feel like a superhero movie. Like, even like a comic book movie at all. It would just feel like this weird mix of fantasy mythology meets modern day kind of thing. Like it's a weird thing. I don't dislike it. It does leave a lot to be desired. But I've watched it, and I guess it's setting up, a few characters. Like, I mean, setting up Loki is a huge thing for the Avengers, right? Like, that's a huge plot point, obviously. It's a setup movie. It's setting up things for the future. Which kind of makes sense, because they also, like, of all of the different Asgardians, the one that they explain or show he's got all these powers the most is Loki. And speaking of Loki, one of the things, of course I knew from, he is my brother. He's adopted. I knew he's adopted. But my brain always figured, okay, so he's some other, not the Asgardian royalty, but some sort of lesser bloodline in the Asgardian culture. I didn't have a concept for he's a frost giant. That was not something that I remember thinking of from any of the... I was like, oh, he's a frost giant. Okay. A little frost giant who spends most of his time not looking at all like a frost giant. But again, powers of Loki. Loki, we see the most variety of powers and things he can do. Which makes sense, because that way we're setting up for him to be a villain. When the villain does something, it just feels cheap if it's like, well, he can't do that. But if they've already established that he can. So, they're just establishing their next villain. But before that, we're going to have Captain America. That'll be fun. That one I think I will like. That seems like a fun one. But yeah, just continuing our way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's fun. Again, all movies that seem like, I should see these. These seem like decent things I should see. And I've just missed a lot of them. So I'm getting around to it. I've rambled on long enough. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues.